Fern and Carl drove all the way down here to show you their glass and talk with you and tell you a little bit about their glass. I don't remember, I've been trying to think back where we met Carl and Fern. I think it must have been at Heart of America, and I took a great liking to them the first time I met them. And Don, I don't know how he twisted their arm down at the Texas Club to be our speaker. We had asked so many people and they had turned us down. He finally found a sucker. Carl said yes. But anyhow, we got him and you're going to have to listen to him. A few years back, Fern was the bulletin secretary for International. And I always remember reading her little editor's corner. She kept talking about talking about her cat. I never could figure out if you really have got a cat, Fern, or if you was talking about all them darn little cat pieces that Carl keeps dragging in. But the other night when I was talking to Carl, I heard the cat, so I do know now she does have a cat. And as I told you before, Carl was vice president for International. This year he was voted in as the president of the club. I know he's going to do a fine job. He's got a lot of new ideas for International. And we'll try to get up there if we can. Something about Carl, if maybe some of you don't know, Carl has been a Ford dealer. Don won't buy a Ford, but we didn't tell Carl that. Not too long ago, Carl for several years has been trying to sell that junk heap of a place that he's got. Finally, here recently, there was a fella came in and wanted to buy it. And he told Carl, he said, I sure would like to have it, but I don't have any money. He says, the only thing I've got a harvest bowl, and they got us a harvest bowl and a kitten's piece. And Fern said, grab it and let's get out of this business. So they are retired now, and maybe we can get them to come back again sometime and give us another program if I haven't loused up too much. And before I louse up too much more, I'm going to turn it over to Carl and let him and Fern tell you about their glass. I was told how to do this, so there we go. Good. I did have about a 2-hour speech, and you probably noticed that Bob Brown went out with me, and I promised him that I would keep it down to an hour and a half. And then if you noticed, Brother Doyle came out with me, and so now we're down to an hour. So these Texas people, if they will behave and cooperate, I'll try to keep it within the limits, okay? Good. Thank you, Rollin, for inviting Fern and me to share some of our experiences. We call it luck. We've had some humorous and some unexpected. But first of all, I'd like to say, as Zsa Zsa Gabor said to her 5th husband, I won't keep you long. The topic that I chose this evening was Carnival glass. Why? I think that many of us in this room have repeated that many times. Why did we get interested in Carnival glass? Ours started out with our first bowl, which I'll show you a little later, that was on Grandma Tracy's dining room table that had Fern's curlers, hairpins, and all the goodies thrown into it. And of course, when we asked Grandma if we could own that someday, she said, take it now so that I know that you have it. Bless her soul, if she could see what that bowl led to, I'm sure that she would be turning over in her grave this evening, but it has been a great thing to us. Then the other question I asked was, why did Woman's Day magazine come out with the Carnival glass section and whet our appetite? And I have to tell you that we now own every piece that's in the Woman's Day magazine. As a Ford dealer, that was a challenge to me. And I get, it's exciting to look back now and see all the different patterns and the different colors and things, and I can tell you that we have them all. And then Marion Hartung's books and Sherman Hand's books. I have not mastered Marion Hartung's 1,000 patterns. We do not have all of hers yet, so don't worry, there are some out there yet that we will still be buying if any of you people have some that you want to sell. But then our good friends like John and Lucille, Don Moore, they followed up by sharing their knowledge with their experience in Carnival glass, and they do share this. And I think we're grateful to them. I think we're going to be real pleased that the video VCR has come into our Carnival collecting. The tape that John and Lucille did on the Fenton glass turned out very well. Those of you that will purchase it from the club will be very happy. I think we have to go this way. We cannot wait for the books to be printed. We cannot wait for the bulletins. We will have that, and it'll be permanent in your catalogs and in your experience and your knowledge that these people have and they're willing to share with us. We've got to be fortunate in our hobby to have people like that that will give that towards us. So yesterday we learned from John and Lucille, so the experience part of it, but tonight we're going to hear from Carl and Fern's fun part of it and how we got started. We started out with, of course, grandmother's bowl, which, oh, I'm sorry, we did purchase the bowl, and of course found that this is the one that was on the dining room table that collected all the pins and the curlers and so on and so forth. Then we attended our first auction. It was a farm auction, which is about 40 miles from Kendall. And this piece came up, and we recognized that this was Carnival glass. So, boy, were we in there bidding. And we got it for $5. Now, that was quite a thing at that time, okay? And it's a strawberry pattern. I don't know if it's inverted or not, but it's strawberry, Tom. All right? At that same auction, a friend of ours that kept us interested in Carnival glass bought this atomizer, and we were standing beside him and laughing to beat heck. He paid $15 for this broken atomizer, and we got a big bowl for $5. So we were pretty smart. We were Carnival glass experts at that point. Naturally, we went up to him afterwards and showed him our bowl, and of course we were being courteous and asked him to look at his atomizer. He informed me that on the bottom of the atomizer it was written, inscribed with Gebilbus, very rare in Carnival. Well, at that time there was a wagon that had other junk on it, if you want to call it, and I could have crawled underneath because as the expert in Carnival I should have known that this was more rare than mine, but this is how you learn in Carnival glass. So, and I have to tell you that this man, being a good friend, made the cabinets that are in the basement of our home with our Carnival glass in. The shelves of our cabinets are made from old car glass that I could not sell. So there's always room for something. And we use the door glass. The glass on the doors of our cabinets came from an old schoolhouse that was torn down, and then this man provided the lumber from his farm. When they delivered the cabinets to our home with the lights in and so on, he turned it on, and this was in the cabinets. So that's something to us. The next thing that I was proud was I went to a garage sale and saw this at $3.50. Now that was too high for me to pay as a beginning collector. So I drove home got my heart-tongue books out and found it in the book. So I called back, and it had not been sold. So I was very fortunate, and Fern and I was excited. We now owned a Bo Peep mug that was in the heart-tongue book. So that's how we started in that direction. Then we are active in our church, in our fellowship group, and the men are usually on the detail, the cleanup detail. And when we would wash the dishes and put the dishes back in the cabinets and the cupboards, we'd pile those dishes on this beautiful strawberry plate. Well, Fern and I took that about so long, and finally I said to the pastor, I hate to say this to you, but that strawberry plate is going to be disappearing. How do you think we can handle it? Well, he said, I think the lady's age should determine what you should pay for it. Well, I could see 50 ladies setting a price at 50 different times. So I said, how would it be if we just made a little larger donation in next Sunday's collection, and then you and I are the only ones that know that. So that's how we purchased, if you want to call purchasing, the strawberry plate. This means a lot, of course, to us. Then, in a neighboring town, a lady had a little shop in the back of her store. And being the boss, the dealer, I could sneak away on a business call, prospect call, whatever you wanted to. But I would go to her place quite often. She had just come back from a garage sale and had paid $5 for this mug. Now, that was an awful dark-looking mug to me, but it looked like Carnival glass. And again, I'm just starting out, just new, back in 1969. And she said, well, if you'll give me 7.5, then I will sell it to you. It has a jiggy poo on the bottom here. And I thought, well, that's good. It's different. So that is how we purchased a red orange tree mug for $7.50. And to this day, I am very, very thrilled. And you might know that I had a lot of prospects over in that lady's town for quite a while, because I was always hoping that she was going to find something rare that I could sneak in the back door and find. After that, when we got interested in Carnival, Fern was working for the attorney in our neighboring town as a legal secretary. And a lady would come in and bring cut glass to him. And through the conversation, while she was waiting to see her boss, Fern commented that Carnival glass was something that we were starting to collect. So she said, well, I have some pieces that an old lady had, and maybe you would like to buy them. Well, yeah, we didn't have any chance to buy Carnival glass. So she started bringing pieces in, and we'd buy everything she brought, because that was an exciting moment, of course, for us. So we started and probably bought 10, 15 pieces. Well, she was talking about the old ladies that she was buying them from, but in our travels, we would go to antique stores and we would see these same pieces, and all of a sudden she was bringing them in from this little old lady. So that's how we got going to Carnival shops, because if she could buy them, why couldn't we buy them? So we went to La Crosse, Wisconsin one weekend and went into a shop, and the man had some Carnival glass. So we was looking at it, and then he brought this out of the back room. And he said, well, you don't want to own this because, this is for advanced collectors. Well, that really bugged me right there. As you can see, we own this, and this was purchased back in 1970. Now, we started in '69 collecting Carnival glass, and the first experience that Fern had herself was standing at an auction from 9 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock, waiting for the Carnival table set to come up. And finally it came up at 5 o'clock, and she thought that he would sell one piece at a time, but fortunately he sold the whole piece, all the pieces. I brought just the pickle caster because It's probably one of the few that's shown in Carnival glass as a pickle caster. Now it is the covered sugar without the cover on it. But the question, Carnival glass, why don't we have more pickle casters? We have table sets, we have places for pickle casters, but we never see those displayed. So I brought you the pickle caster so that you can answer the question, why don't we have more in different patterns? I do not know that. I brought along the Northwood Grape and Cable salad bowl. This to me is a beautiful bowl. It's unusual. I didn't know if many of you had a chance to see one, handle one, or whatever you want to do. So this has a little story to it also. Harold Ludeman, our good friend in Black River, that's a grape and cable collector, sold me this back in 1977. And I do not know, and he does not know to this day why he did that. And we're not going to discuss it any further because I own it. But I think he wanted me to have it and have us to have it. And so I'm very pleased to have it there. The next pieces mean something to both Fern and I. On our 25th wedding anniversary, the employees at the garage gave us this strawberry two-handle bonbon that I had told my secretary was in our neighboring town about 6 miles away, and he only had 2 pieces of Carnival in all the Carnival for sale. I did not know at that time that the little strawberry on the bottom was very unusual. Now it might not be rare, but it's very unusual. And when we unwrapped our presents from the employees, here was this piece. So it has a tender spot. I also brought one in red for you to see that maybe some of you have not had a chance, also in strawberries. Fern and I do have a strawberry collection of these, and we hope that we have all the colors that there are. Time magazine came through our area, and Dr. Adams was asked to provide glass that would be, the pictures would be taken and put into the Time booklet, and that was done alphabetically. So in the Carnival glass section, he provided some pieces, and he called me and he said, I do not have any Australian pieces. Do you have any that you'd like to bring up? And naturally I did have, and I'm happy to say this is the piece that was photographed and is now in the Time magazine booklet that's available on Carnival glass. And I believe the reason they took it is because it has the registered number on it. So this is the piece of any of you that own the Time magazine booklet on Carnival glass. For many years, I called this heavy grape, or golden grape, which I think all of us will agree, until an expert came to my home, which I'm happy, and it will invite all of you people to come to Wisconsin. Be sure to stop and see us. This is the Malaga pattern. Now, unless you get the Hartung book out, you will not know what Malaga is. And I certainly didn't know, but I do know today. And of course it means much, much more to us now that we have Malaga rather than golden grapes. I brought the golden whiskey bottle, and then I also brought a match booklet with you, which verifies that Shenley's 25th Golden Wedding 90 proof whiskey. And of course, I assume that this is what you know what it is. If you could handle one or more of these, you could keep on going, you know. But the Golden Wedding bottle is something that's not rare, but it's a good little piece to have in the collection. We were then able, speaking of whiskey, these were whiskey samples. This was made for a lumber yard in Cazenovia, Wisconsin. The grandfather of Ryan Duran, who was the baseball pitcher for the New York Yankees. And if you remember the first pitch that he threw behind the batter, and then he struck him out with the next 3. He was so scared he didn't know where the next pitch was coming from, then he backed away from every other pitcher. He has had problems with alcohol and with drug abuse, and is now talking to the students in high schools on that program. He came to Kendall. I called the school and invited him to come to the garage, and I took this piece down and showed him, and then he told me that it was his grandfather's, and it was a whiskey sampler from the sawmill that his grandfather had. He almost cried that I was kind enough to recognize him with the drug and the alcohol abuse, that he did not have the friends that he's finding that there are out in this world. And I think that the Carnival people, the Carnival collectors, we can do a lot towards this. And I know we do a lot towards this. So we are people that are recognized along this line. I guess I have to tell you that this is the one that my heart jumped out of wherever it's located. At the Wichita auction, I had my picture taken holding this water pitcher because I would never get another chance to see one, let alone hold one. Lo and behold, when Moggs and Cooley's auction came up, this picture came up. Well, are you in it or are you not? You know, one of these decisions that we all have to make. It was sold, and that was rejected because it has a flaw mark up in the handle. And then it was resold, and I can tell you that the most excited man there was the new purchaser, because this is the Frolicking Bear, and I don't know how many of you have had a chance to see one, have your picture taken, or hold one. There aren't too many around. There are a few tumblers now that are showing up. I have been told that this was put in flour. It was given away in flour. The pitcher was put in the 100-pound bags and the tumblers in the 50 pounds. The flour was wormy. They threw it in the East River out east in the New York area, and that's why there aren't many available. That's just strictly information that I have. And if this is true, and any of you have scuba diver equipment or bikini swimming suits, and I would like to drive you out there, we will start going and looking for Frolicking Bear water sets. Then comes the moments that all collectors get excited about. We attended the Lincoln Land Christmas party. That is a Christmas party for fun. We have an auction, social get-together, and so on. This was sitting in front of Steve Morrow's plate on Sunday for the banquet. Well, we all know that Steve, if he can make a profit, has brought a lot of glass into the hands of the collectors. So I said to Fern, well, here I go. So we went and talked to Steve, and I got called away, and then when I came back, here it was sitting in front of our place. So we're very proud of this. We did see another one down at Cecil's when we went to the Texas convention. We're very excited. We love spittoons, as you will notice, but this is little Cosmos and Kane. For educational purposes, for those that did not know, and probably all do know, the Northwood Grape and Cable spittoon was made out of the bottom of the powder jar. Back in those days, the women, of course, chewed snuff, pinch snuff, sniff snuff, whatever you want to call it. And they wore the long capes, so they had to design these so that she could carry the spittoon underneath her cape. So as a lady, she would not do this out in the public. So that is why these were made, so that they would be cradled in that area. So this was made out of the powder jar. Again, we were happy to be offered the only known at this stage anyhow, and maybe more will show up, the Wreath of Roses spittoon. Wreath of Roses, as we all have, is in the Rose Bowl. But keep looking. There is maybe another one out there. There might be another worker that had a wife that chewed snuff that might have made one for his wife. So keep looking. I brought along the plate made from the same piece as the basket weave. When we were fortunate to be able to buy this, the lady sold it to me as a little basket. And I agreed with her, it was a basket at one time. We just didn't finish the sentence, that's all. So when I got home, naturally, and I showed Fern, I was very excited. So you can see that the two of them are one of the same. I don't know how many of you have cruets. The cruet is not a very pretty piece of Carnival glass. We purchased this at the Wichita auction. I have never seen any since. Maybe there are some of you, if they are, after we get through, would like to come forward. I would like to know. It is a, just a plain piece of Carnival, but I've never seen a cruet since that time. We were very fond of the gaiters. Ed was one of the first ones that kept us interested when we went to our first convention, ICGA convention in Des Moines, okay, in 1974. We were encouraged by him and by Jack Burke to come because they needed, it was the first time it was going to be east of the Mississippi River. Well, being a car dealer, I attended conventions probably 3-4 a year, so I took all my work from the garage and swimming trunk, and I was going to do a lot of work. I was going to be bored at another convention. We didn't eat on the way down because we were going to have a big dinner when we got there and all this kind of stuff. I have to tell you that we did not eat until the next noon. We saw a carnival that we had never seen before in our life. Our eyes were big as saucers. We left there with 14 chicken boxes full of Carnival glass. We did not talk on the way home because we had 2 boxes between us in the front seat and all of them in the back seat and all of them in the trunk. So that's the kind of collector that we need today, somebody that is willing to do that. But that was a thrill for us. We saw Carnival, and I remember John Roller had an auction up in his room that lasted 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and we were sitting along the wall bidding, and I bought some kittens pieces there that I'd never seen before, and talk about excitement, that was it. This is the only known Cathedral and Hot Star bottle that is complete with the stopper. So I thought there might be some of you here this evening that would appreciate looking at that. I brought the 2 grape and cable hat pin holders because they look the same, except this one is the banded one. John, I don't know if we could call this banded grapes, but wouldn't that be a rare hat pin holder? But they do have the 2 kinds. We have the banded, and of course we have the other one with the cable along the top. We were excited about completing our butterfly and berry set, table set, water set, and all the pieces of butterfly and berry. And like John Lucille talked about that in their Fenton presentation. And our final piece, of course, was this marigold hat pin holder. So we were very proud and very happy to have that in our collection. Most of you know that fruit bowls sit on top of the base. On top of the base, punch bowls sit on the inside of the base, okay? So we have the blue Memphis fruit bowl, which is just absolutely beautiful. I hope you can see this. I was second in line to buy this, and Don Moore was first. And many of you have had that experience. So I did not get it. Of course, he purchased it. And then the next year when I saw him, he informed me that he had two of them. There are only two known. And they looked so well on the end of his dresser. And for 5 years I bugged him about selling me one of those. And finally he broke down and offered it to me for $950. Now that shook me up a little bit because he only paid $450 for it at the time. But that's part of Carnival glass. Well, that part wasn't so bad, except when he had his auction, he put up the other one. And he said, why don't you bid, put in a bid on that and you'll have both of them. So I thought that was a fair idea. And so I sent a bid for $950. You all know that that brought $2,350. Well, it wasn't long and I got a little note, you might call it a love note or whatever, from Don Moore. Now that I had made the down payment on the blue Memphis fruit bowl, how did I plan to handle the balance? So when our retirement and welfare check comes in every month, the third of every month, I send him one of these dollars with a little note telling him that this is all that Fern and I at this time can spare. But if we can increase our payments, that we will be happy to do that in the future. P.S. I hope you live that long. We have had more fun, and I think all of you know to this day that Carnival glass is fun, and this is one of the things that happened.
Carl, I don't think you have it, but put it on there straight.
Oh, thank you very much. That is one of our treasures. It does fit a little loose.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. But it is very pretty. This I brought you, and probably some of you own that, but the Panther sauce or the butterfly and berry sauce was made so that the feet support the berry bowl. Well, this guy either or he did something wrong when he was making the legs. But anyhow, he sucked them up instead of letting them out. I don't know if he still has his job or not, but I appreciated what he did. So that's worked out good. These next two little compotes, I think, are cute. They're not rare, but I brought them for you to look at if you want to. The day we left home, we got our Hoga Bulletin, and John and Lucille had put in an article on harvest flower, harvest poppy, thank you. And boy, did I read that, because then I had a speech already for you people. But you can read it. Most of us are members. It is very pretty. This one happens to be in blue. And you saw his in his presentation. But it is a very, very collectible combo. I don't know how many of you have the match holder. It is not rare, but you don't see them. And I guess if you would see them in a store, or a shop, I'm sorry, or at a flea market or whatever, would you know what it is? So I brought it along to share with you, and that's what it's used for. We like the Palm Beach. This one, again, there must have been the same worker with those legs. I think he inhaled instead of blew out the glass. It is a whimsy with the this type of a top. There is one other known that we know about. There might be more of them out there, but I thought you might enjoy seeing this. I guess in any talk, you leave the best to the last. the last 30 days, we were able to purchase a kitten's cuspidor. We do have a cat at home, a Siamese cat that's 18 years old, so kitten pieces do mean something to us. We received a card like this, and when I called the man, he said it was his wife's hand, and this little was the actual size of it. You can't believe what it means to a person who always had wanted one of these less than kill for it. And we called and we were able to purchase it, and we had seen the one down in the Whitley's collection and Reinhardt's and Pollock's. There are, I believe, about 4 or 5 known. The story behind this was the grandparents of the individual that had this made this for his father, for his mother, and it got put up into the attic. So it's going to be one that has not been accounted for. So, and the detail on it is very good, and I welcome you to come up afterwards and look at it. Fern and I believe that it was made from this type of a piece. The bottoms are the same. He just brought the edges up and molded, of course, and folded it in there. This one happens to be in the amber color with a little blue base, a purple base, which is a little unusual in the kitten's pieces. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If I said it once, I said it many times, that Carnival glass brings us together, but friends keep us together. So I want to thank you very much for having us, and we appreciate talking to you.
Yeah. We always thought this was Northwoods, and I think all of us did at one time with the jewel heart on the back. But now it's coming out that it was Dugan's. So it's very pretty. Any other? Yes. Go ahead, Ron.
Did Singleton sign the number customer?
Yes. This is number 5 of 3 made.
Do we have any more questions now that I got him back up there?
Carl, that is the same bowl that has the farmyard.
Okay. For your information, this is the same bowl at the farmyard.
The farmyard in the center instead of the shed.
Okay. So we would have the chickens. The farmyard is the same bowl as this one here. John has brought to my attention, and that is correct. So if you can't afford a farmyard bowl, buy one of these. Okay?
You can leave it at my house when you get ready to leave. That and the spittoon.
No problem. No, just that one.
Oh. We do.
Yes.
If you said what that is, I mean, what is it to me next to the kittens?
This one here.
Yes.
This is the Palm Beach.
Well, I understood the
Yeah.
pattern, but what is it?
It's a whimsy vase.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
It was originally up straight, and I don't know how many of you have one of these.
Somebody's squealing out.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure like to have one.
Anything else?
Winnie over here.
Oh, yes. Renee.
Yes, I'd like to know what the pattern of the green compote is.
Okay.
I've not seen that before.
Good. I haven't either. We call it small raspberry, but I'm going to look at John Britt. We always look at John when we...
That's as near as I can come to it.
Okay. So it will be the small raspberry.
Does it have an E in it? Or on the bottom?
Yes. Northwood small raspberry. It's worth more. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you again. This was really
Again, I do want to thank Vern and Carl Schroeder for coming down and being with us. I hope they've enjoyed being here as much as we've enjoyed having them.